Hello, hot, attractive, smart listener. Welcome to another episode of the Geek Press Podcast. I'm Noah, and today co host Lewis and I talk about the season one finale of The Last of Us, as well as the ending of Attack on Titan. Within these two shows, we kind of discuss the ethics at work here. Is the one that you love worth the destruction of the world? If you enjoy listening to what we're doing here, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe across the board. Help us climb to the number one charts on all the podcast lists so that we can prove to our dads that we're actually worth something. See you later.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, theys and nems. My name is Luis Gutierrez, and I am joined by my ever-rotating celebrity co-host. And today we are joined by the one, the only Zach Galifianakis. Zach, how are you doing today?
Hello, Lewis. Thank you so much for inviting me. I
Oh, you're
appreciate
British
it.
now. Okay, yeah, that's
Well, first of all, I'm English. I know you stupid Americans can't really tell the difference, but I'm English, yes.
is Zach Galifianakis English?
I
No,
don't
he's
know.
not. He's not. You
I
gotta
like
be.
I like how you doubted yourself for a second. You're like,
Yeah.
"Wait a second." Hi, everyone. I'm the co-host of this podcast, Noah Garcia, and each week I'm subjected to celebrity impersonations, particularly to celebrities I don't know. I don't know what Zach Galifianakis sounds like at all.
He sounds like, have you seen The Hangover, right?
You know what? This is I get teased a lot for like being like, "Oh, I don't watch popular movies." But I'm pretty sure I have seen The Hangover. Is that the one where it's
But
like the guy's wedding day or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I have seen The Hangover.
He
Which character
he's
is
he's
that Galifianakis?
the only fat guy in the movie.
That didn't help me at
He
all.
has the beard, and he's like, "We're the three best friends that anyone could have."
Oh, he is like the crazy one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's the crazy one.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, that helps me a little, but no, I'm sorry, I don't I don't know what Zach Galifianakis is.
Really quick before we
I
get
love that
in,
last name.
before we get into the podcast, I saw this clip on TikTok because he has this show on Netflix.
Mhm,
I believe it's on Netflix. It's called Between Two Firms. I believe. I
mhm,
think it's what it's called. And it's where he does like dry interviews with celebrities, but they're scripted. So half the time he's just talking shit to them. And so like
mhm.
there's one he did with Obama, and he's like, "How does it feel being a president that everyone hates?" And then like Obama be like, "How does it feel being fat?"
Oh,
And
damn.
but they're just like, but they're that's the point of the show, you know. And
Mhm,
so he has Paul Rudd on because they were promoting Ant-Man 2 or Ant-Man 3.
mhm.
And he asked him, he was like, "Yeah, so how does it feel to be a practicing Jew?" And then Paul Rudd was like, "Oh, I'm no longer a practicing Jew. I've perfected it." And I just started fucking dying as soon as, like, I'm not doing the delivery good, but
Mhm.
the way he said it was just so fucking hilarious. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, to episode 44 of the Geek Press Podcast. I have no segue into that, so we're just gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about. So, as you all know, The Last of Us season 1 is over. It's done.
Mhm.
Joel saved the world. He put his feelings aside for a slimmer of a hope that the world could survive. And now that's it. Ellie's dead. Joel's alive. The cure has been found, potentially. And we can all live happily ever after. Right, Noah? Isn't that how it ended?
I don't know why you're saying this so odd. Yeah, that's what happened.
So
Big spoilers, by the way, for, The Last of Us.
yeah, if you haven't seen it, just honestly just stop watching now. Like, I
Yeah,
hate
just
you.
don't listen. I don't hate you, but I am disappointed in
Oh, I hate you. I wholeheartedly hate you.
Lewis and I are your parents. We're not together, but we are your parents. We're your fathers, and he hates you, but I'm just disappointed in you. I mean, sometimes that's worse. And you're just like, "Oh, can't you just be mad at me?" "No, I'm disappointed in you." And it's like, "Oh, that's worse."
I remember as a kid, you just hit me with the flashback memory. My stepdad, before he walked out on me too.
Mhm.
Um he had told me something along those lines, right? Like, "I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed in you." And I was like, "Wait, so you're not mad?" He was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I was cool with it. I was like, "As long as I'm not getting yelled at or anything, I could take disappointment."
And that's when he left. He was like, "This kid will never learn." And
Yeah.
he left.
Okay, but
But,
let's get
that's
into
a
it.
yeah, that's a third sociopath. Today, we're talking about crazy people.
Sorry, I was drinking water.
It's okay. Stay hydrated, baby.
But yeah, so Noah,
Mhm.
you you more or less grew up on The Last of Us, right?
No,
Really?
no.
When did you play the game?
I played it, I wanna say when did The Last of Us come out?
That
This is gonna
came
be really it's gonna be really awkward if I say the year it came out, and I'm just like, "I didn't grow up on it."
Okay, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Okay, The Last of Us game?
The Last
See,
of Us came out in 2013.
yeah, I played it in 2019.
Okay, okay,
I played it, I believe around the time the second one came out.
okay.
Just because my sister had gotten a PS4 and we were both getting a bunch of games. And what's kind of funny about that PS4 is that I bought Spider-Man PS4 for her husband because he loves Spider-Man, but he didn't really end up playing it because he's more of a Nintendo person. So then I just started playing it. So it just ended up being a gift for myself.
That all worked out for you
All
then.
worked out. But yeah, I played it in 2019 and you played it of this year, didn't you?
Late last year,
Mhm.
I bought the game. Well, I didn't buy the game. Our friend or your friend Rudy had bought it for me for Christmas, and I didn't play it until maybe, yeah, essentially, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I played it this
Mhm.
year. I played it this year. So I had beat it literally maybe a week before the show came out.
And I know that was a thing you wanted to do so that when you watch the show, you'd have that inside knowledge.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, this is that part. This is that part. Oh, this is when they do this, you know? They change this for this." A lot of it was really fresh in my head. But
Yo.
as someone who has more of a history with the game,
Mhm,
how would you say that they live up to like the mythos of The Last of Us? Because as like for me as a gamer who mainly gamed on Xbox up until maybe like late last year, and
mhm,
I was totally aware of The Last of Us. I remember growing up in high school and having this conversation with a buddy of mine, and he was telling me, "Yeah, man, The Last of Us is fucking crazy. Like, it raises this question at this whole philosophical question at the end, and like it really fucks you up. A great game." And I heard that throughout my educational years. So I wasn't just in high school, but I just remember in high school hearing it, and that was, I graduated
mhm.
like 2015, so that was probably within the 4-year span of that.
You're
So
so young.
yeah, right. But obviously, you have a little bit more of a history with the game just because you played it earlier than me. So
Mhm.
did it live up to the hype? Is what I'm trying to ask.
I think that's a really tough question because I feel like there's a dissidence in experience between video games and their film or TV adaptations because when you play a game, you're spending hours on hours with these characters. You're dying and restarting levels and doing game segments again, and you hear like as they're moving the little voice moments and like little lines that they throw out. And it's just such a different experience playing a game and getting playing and getting to know Ellie and Joel is so different from watching the show. And I think I'll be very frank and say it took me a couple of times in the episode. It took me a couple episodes to like those versions of the character because I not that they were bad. It's just that I you interact with TV differently the way you interact with video games
Yeah, and
and different voices, different character models. So it took me some time. So I feel like maybe the game hit me more just simply because I had spent like what 30, I don't know how long the game is, but like 30 hours or something playing with them. And then when you find out that they are going to sacrifice Ellie's life, it just hits different than the TV where we've spent maybe like less than 12 hours with these characters. But it still hit, of course, because you care about the versions of these characters. You really like Joel, you really like Ellie. You really care for Ellie, especially after her little standalone episode. But it's just it hits differently. So I feel like maybe I was more engaged emotionally with the video game, but I still found the show to be very compelling. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm more or less the same. One thing I do kind of regret is that like I probably shouldn't have played the game before the show came out.
Oh
Just
my gosh, tell me why.
just because as I was watching it, I was like, I know all the twists and turns now.
Mhm,
I know who's gonna live. I know who's gonna die. I know how they're gonna die. You know.
mhm,
So when like big stuff happened, I was just watching it. My girlfriend was like, "Holy shit, that's crazy!" Or "Damn, that really got me in my feels." And I'm over here just like, yeah, I knew that was gonna happen."
mhm,
And it took out a lot of the what's it called for me, like the oof.
mhm. Like the gravitas was lost
That's
a
the
bit.
word I'm looking for. Yes, yes, that's the exact word I was looking for. And it just took that out for me a little bit, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, "Did I just kind of, like, shoot myself in the foot by playing the game first?" So, that was something I was kinda, like, battling with myself,
Mhm.
but I do feel like the line the deliverance was better in the game at the very end when they were saying when Joe was talking to the Firefly leader, I forget her name. When he was talking to her
Marlene?
Marlene, there we go. When he was talking to Marlene and saying
Punk Marlene. Ooh, I'm a fighter. Ooh.
it sounded like it sounded like something else was going on for a second.
Oh my god, that's me angry. Ooh, Lewis, I'm gonna punch you.
But
But continue.
the deliverance of the line when she's saying something along the lines of we have to kill her. That's the only way
Mhm,
we could get the cure. I think it was done better in the game than it was
mhm,
in the show. Because in the show they just kind of like jump right into it. And also too, I feel as if the not the hallway fight, but like the hospital shooting scene
mhm,
could have been stretched out a little bit more because in
mhm.
the show it's like he receives this fucking I don't know, he just goes into god mode, you know?
He goes Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah, yeah, he just like all of a sudden he's just not missing a shot. This and I get
Mhm,
it, but I just felt like it was too perfect in the show.
mhm. You feel like he should have had a bit more, he should have got it roughed up a bit more?
He should have got roughed up a bit more, and I felt like it was just a teeny wince rush, just a teeny
Mhm.
wince, you know? That's how I feel about the final action scene now.
I think it's interesting because in the show, Marlene offers a bit more of an explanation on the immunity,
Mhm,
whereas, like, in the game, there are voice recordings you can listen to where they talk about equipment and stuff. So they kinda did a bit more to justify it, and I think that was a good thing to include because a big conversation that's been on social media right now is that do the Fireflies even have the proper equipment to not only make some sort of vaccine, but distribute it?
mhm.
I think that's an interesting conversation
I
that I
have
didn't hear when the game was first played.
I have thoughts on that. Do you wanna hear
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, of course.
This might make me sound, like, pretentious or something,
Mhm,
but I'm more of the lines of, like, "Just shut up, you fucking nerd," you know?
mhm,
Because everyone's saying they're trying to use logic in this, and I get it. But people are saying stuff along the lines of like, "Oh, they're stuck in like 2003. How are they gonna
I
do
think I know
this?"
exactly the TikTok you're quoting, and we're all quoting the same TikTok.
Yeah, I've seen it on TikTok and I've seen it on Twitter
Mhm,
a lot too. And they're like, "How can they make this vaccine? It's only one person, blah 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 blah." And I'm over here thinking, I'm like, "You're really trying to put logic into this? Like
mhm.
this is a fantasy. It's based in reality, but it's a fantasy world."
Into the mushroom zombie monsters, you're gonna include some logic into that?
Yeah, like how are you gonna logically explain bloaters to me?
Mhm,
Come on,
and I think
you
it and I understand that because we actually don't really have vaccines for fungal infections.
Uh-huh. I do too, but it's more or less on
Mhm.
along the lines of
You
it.
feel like it's more nitpicking than like actual
y-
issue with the show.
Yeah, it's more nitpicking, and at the
Mhm.
same time too, if there's like, I often kind of quote this line from Batman v Superman because it's true. It's like if there's even a slimmer of a chance that it could happen, we treat it with absolute. Because Bruce
Mhm.
Wayne says something about that when he's like gonna go throw hands at Batman.
Yeah, but
And
he's wrong.
no,
He's wrong though.
but you get what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
you
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
if there's a slimmer of a chance that that's gonna happen, you go balls to the wall for it.
Mhm.
And that's exactly like you're never gonna get that opportunity again. So
And I
even
feel like that's sort of the moral dilemma at play here. It's that
mhm.
if there is even a 0.1% chance to save humanity, do you take it?
and that
And
and that
Mhm.
kind of leads us into this question. Let's put a pin in that for a second
Like,
because
ding.
I had DM'd Noah and I
Mhm.
wanted to, I love anime. I'm a big anime fan.
Nerd.
Noah loves mangas. That makes him an even bigger fucking nerd than me. And
Wow.
I DM'd him and I was saying, Noah, I got this idea for the podcast. And
He's in my DMs.
here's the premise going forward, or at least until we run out of things to say.
Mhm.
We wanted to talk about Attack on Titan and connect it to The Last of Us, and in the sense where we're gonna ask the question now: was Aaron justified in doing what he's doing, and was Joe justified doing and what he's doing? Because I'm seeing a lot of people say, "Oh, was Joe right?" But I'm not on anime Twitter as much. That's for reasons. But
Also same.
mainly because I get a lot of spoilers from my anime if I don't watch it like the fucking minute it comes out.
Mhm.
But
So many
uh
spoilers.
yeah, but I'm not seeing too many like people on anime Twitter, at least the side I'm on, saying, "Oh, was Aaron right?" So I kind of want to discuss the two now since you brought that up. But since we're talking about Joe first, what would you do in that situation?
Okay, let's say really quickly, because I feel like our audience might be a bit more familiar with The Last of Us than they are Attack on Titan. So what can maybe you do a short, like 30-second, like brief recap of what's going on in Attack on Titan right now.
Okay, so I'll start from the beginning, but I'll keep it. I'm just gonna hit the main points.
Mm.
In the beginning of Attack on Titan, there are a group of people who live on an island, and they live on an island with essentially giants, and these giants eat people, and these giants have been eating people for such a long time, and it's gotten so bad that to a point where they're forced to live in these walls. A group of titans that are like a group of these titans are an upgraded form, break through the walls, and force these people to fight for their lives. It turns out one of the people within the wall can turn into a titan as well, and they kind of even the odds a bit of the battlefield. Now,
Mhm.
season 1 through 3 is about the people inside the wall fighting these titans and trying to clear out the island so that way they can live peacefully. Throughout the season, they find out some of their own people, besides the main character, can also turn into a titan, and it raises all these questions because all of a sudden, all these other human titans start coming and attacking the humans on the island. Season
Mhm.
4 is where they kind of just like throw towards the end of season 3. Season 4 is where they say, "Fuck it, everything you've known, forget it." It
Mhm.
turns out that the people on the island are a group of sub subhuman species. They can all turn into these titans, and the people all around the world effectively banished them to this island because they're afraid of them. And it turns out that the upgraded humanoid titans that attacked the wall were sent from the outside world. And what was going to happen was all of those people from the outside world, essentially the mainland, everyone from the mainland was teaming together, and they were going to effectively commit mass genocide to these people on the island and say we need to get rid of them once and for all because there was a thing that happened in the world of Attack on Titan, like hundreds of years ago, called the Rumbling, where these Titans came and just killed everybody, and only small group of people survived. So that's why they have such. That's why they're extremely like prejudiced and racist against these group of humans. So what ends
These
up
groups also being on the mainland, so they're like
yes.
separated.
Yes, and there are island people on the mainland, and they're effectively there's the only other comparison that I could think of is like they're treated like how Nazi Germany treated Jewish people. And it gets a little weird in the anime, like it feels a little weird watching it at this point, but like
Mhm,
effectively they're in concentration camps. That I don't know how else to put it except that. So what happens in the anime is the main character who you've been following through season 1 through 4 realizes these people are never gonna not they're gonna keep trying to kill us, and it's only a matter of time before their technology gets so good that we cannot stop them. I need to become effectively the king titan and start the rumbling and wipe out all of these people before they wipe out all
mhm,
of us. So in season 4, they broke it up into 3 parts, and the latest episode, which was a 1-hour special, the main character, his name's Aaron Yeager. What he does is starts the rumbling, and he you see videos of him like effectively stomping out all of the human race. And the rumbling is, think of it as, a million feet tall giants just literally walking across the earth, flattening it out. That's exactly what they're doing. And he is killing literally 90% of the world to protect the world that he knew. Because if he didn't do that, they would have killed him. And as the show goes on, it's raising this question now. It's like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Because you can see why he's doing it, but at the same time, he is committing world genocide. Okay, I know I
mhm.
talked a lot, but also too that's
No,
his
you're putting all this you're giving this, reference, the whole
and
conversation.
and also too, before we kind of get into like the meat of this conversation, I just kind of want to
Mhm,
get ahead of this and just say this. Both of these are fictional worlds with fictional
mhm,
people. Noah and I think this goes without saying, but I want to say it anyways. Genocide is a horrible, horrible thing.
mhm.
We would never do anything like that. We are just saying what we would do in these two extreme situations in these two fictional worlds.
We're having philosophical conversations about fictional characters.
Exactly.
So, what we say here may not be reflective of our real world beliefs. We're just kind of having fun here.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to get ahead of that too because I don't want anyone to misconstrue what we're saying or get the wrong idea of what we're trying to say. But I talked a
Okay.
lot. Noah,
Mhm.
you talk about Joe and
Okay.
what you would have done.
As Joel,
Yeah, we'll go to Joe. We'll talk about that, and then we'll hop over to
I think.
Attack on Titan.
Okay. I think as Joel, I am killing everyone. I am killing everyone. First of all, they didn't have the manpower to take my daughter themselves. So how the fuck are they gonna have the manpower to spread a fucking vaccine? Second of all, I'm just like, y'all don't have the power to keep the lights on in your hospital. How are you gonna have the power to like? The thing is that I don't trust the Fireflies. I don't like the Fireflies. I don't think they have the proper solution. And the only thing I don't think I would have done is lie to Ellie
As Joel or the
as
Fireflies?
Joel.
Okay.
I think I would have talked to her and let her know the fucking situation. And then when she was like, "Oh, we can go back, right? And we can still, I can still help." And then I'd be like, "Oh no, I killed them all. They're all dead. Sorry, they're dead. You can hate me, but you'll hate me alive." So yeah, sorry, and that's how that would end. And then we'd go back to Tommy's, and then eventually she'd get over it because you tell things horrible kids, and then eventually they get over it. If you tell them horrible things as adults, they'll stick to that shit. So my thing is like we said that of course this is this is it's nonfiction, but the part of my brain that's like I don't trust the Fireflies to be able to deliver on this cure they're promising just cannot leave my brain. So I would not trust the Fireflies. They honestly don't have the tech or equipment, and I just don't fucking trust them. I do not trust them. They're gonna fuck it up somehow.
So
And that's kind of where I agree with Joel, and I think the emotionality part is that I I think lots of people are like, "Oh, this is making Joel look bad." It's purposely
That's
supposed
the
to be
point.
ambiguous. Yeah, that's the point. It's specifically meant to kind of have you question your own values of, if this was my loved one, would I do this? And I 100%, whether you call it selfish or horrible, I
Yep.
would still do it. I would still do it. I'd have no qualms because I would rather be selfish and let the world burn than see the person I care about be hurt for a slimmer of a chance. You know what,
Hmm.
Fireflies? You know what the Fireflies can do? Give me research, give me evaluation reports, give me the fucking data so I can look at this shit.
Hmm.
And then I'll wake Ellie up and then I'll say, "Hey, this is what the fuck is going on." Because
You
they,
know,
in both the game and in the show, they do not wake up and tell her what's going on.
you want to know something funny? I saw
Tell
this.
me.
I saw this tweet where
Mhm,
everyone's saying, "Yeah, was Joe right? Was Joe wrong?" Well, I
mhm,
hate to break it to y'all, but my wife's an anesthesiologist, and for those who are unaware, those are the people who put you to sleep right before you do surgery.
mhm,
And he said, "My wife's an anesthesiologist, and she just told me if you just unhook someone from their anesthesia like that, you're gonna kill them." So
mhm.
Joe just killed his daughter, and I found that fucking hilarious.
You know what? Let me the Fireflies, I bet they didn't have anesthesia, they just let her sleep. They're just like, "Oh, she's asleep, we'll do
Fucking
it."
just butted her with a rifle, like, "Gah!"
Yeah. She was like, where's Joel?" And he's like, "Oh, you'll see him later." God. And they're like, "We didn't even have anesthesia." And they're like, "Oh, back in the olden days, the back of a gun was anesthesia."
Mhm.
It all worked out. But yeah, but what do you are now, does this work? Are you gonna talk about Joel, or are you gonna move to Aaron, or what do you think?
We'll do Joe. We'll talk about
Okay.
Attack on Titan. We'll talk about Last of Us first.
Okay.
Um,
So, what do you think?
so I going back to what we are saying about the game, I feel like the game does a
I
better job a little bit at delivering this message with the equipment, because if I remember right, there's something along the lines of like, yeah, it took us, maybe it's in the second one. I don't remember. I'm not done with the second one yet. I'm almost done with it. But it's a line where they're saying something along the lines of, it took us like ten months to get all of this equipment. Trust me, it's gonna work. So that's how they kind of
Mhm.
address
And there's
the
even, just to add to what you're saying, sorry,
go for it, go for
uh,
it.
there's even, like, recordings where they're like, "Oh, we've" they kinda say state in the video game through recordings and side notes and stuff that, uh, "Oh, we've figured out how to do this. This is equivalent to making penicillin." So they're claiming that they've made such a great breakthrough that they could actually, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's why I'm a little bit more leaning towards the Fireflies, because in the source material there's they claim to have a lot of knowledge, like they claim to genuinely be smart. And just on the fact too, I'm not gonna get into it, so you don't have to worry about it. But in The Last of Us Part Two, the video game, they kind of further back up those claims a bit more, and you get a little bit more insight, and you're like, oh, so maybe they could have done this. And but even before that, I think too, it's you have the weight of the world on your shoulder, you know? And I get it. You have to do this. But the only thing I don't agree with the Fireflies of what they did was they should have, like, going back to the whole thing, they should have told Ellie.
Mhm,
They shouldn't have hid that information from Ellie, because at the end of the day, it's really not your call to make.
mhm,
And you should have told this person, like, hey, the world could potentially be saved, but in doing that, you have to die. So I would have told Ellie regardless, and I think that I still would have went for the cure, because
mhm,
just think about it, you know? The no more infected, no more clickers, no more none of that. All of that would have potentially ceased to exist. And then it raises the question too. It's like, do they have the manpower to get the cure out? That's questionable. But if
mhm,
they can even just show, like, hey, Fedra, I know you want to shoot
mhm,
me, just listen to me. This shit works. And then show them,
mhm.
they'd be like, "Oh fuck, okay, now let's start distributing." There's multiple ways they could have
Mhm.
gone about it.
It's that 1% chance we've been talking about.
Yeah,
Like, if there is a chance to save humanity, would you take it?
and I think too, like the I've been seeing a lot of people say this, and I agree. At the end of the day, Joel
Mhm.
was wrong, but it
Yeah,
comes, yeah, there's no denying that he was wrong, but it just comes down to it. It comes down to what would you do? How would you feel in that situation? And then my girlfriend had even asked me like, "Oh, would you sacrifice me?" And I kind of
and
looked.
then you were like, "Hell yeah."
Yeah, and I looked at her. I was like, "You're not gonna like the answer to that question." She got she got mad at me. She was like, "I wouldn't sacrifice you," and we got into this whole argument about like
And then I could literally hear you being like, "You better sacrifice me. What are you talking about?"
that's yeah, that was the conversation. That was the conversation I had with her, and it's this whole thing. It's like your moralities, but I genuinely feel like he should have swallowed his pride at that point. You know.
Mhm. You know what? He had just lost he'd lost his daughter, he'd lost so many things. He just couldn't go through another loss like that.
Mm-hmm. And I yeah, and again, too, I get why he did it, this was a
Mhm.
broken man who was just fixed, and he couldn't go back to his broken world, you know?
Yeah. So
But
I understand what you mean exactly, but at the end of the day, it's
Mhm.
kind of I feel like it's not exactly a moral choice. It's sort of like emotional wise. Like how would you be able to make that sacrifice for yourself?
And yeah, and to the argument too, it's like, "Oh, this is making Joel look like a bad guy." Joel's been a
He
bad
kind of
guy.
is. Yeah, he's a
Joe's
bad.
Joe's been a piece of shit from the very beginning. I know in the game I don't remember if they talk about it in the show, but, like, he was like a smuggler, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they do talk about it in the show in the very beginning.
Mhm.
He was a smuggler in the beginning, and then him and Tommy used to go and just kill people and, like, steal their
Yeah,
shit.
they said it in the show too.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. He
I remember they did a scene that was very similar to the game where, when they were first driving into the city and the guy's, like, asking for help, and Ellie's like, "Oh, let's help him," and Joel goes, "No, he's not asking for help, it's a trap," and she asked him, "How do you know that?" And he knows that because he's done the exact same shit, and that's both hit in the game and in the show, and it's kinda just shows that yeah, he's our protagonist, but he's spent a lot of his life being awful and terrible. And it's kind of like that's the world we live in where people think they need to be awful and terrible because the world's broken.
yeah.
And you know what? It's whether or not you can forgive Joel is kind of your prerogative. Whether or not you think he's a good person is your prerogative. But in the past, he has not behaved as a good human being should.
Mhm.
And you can make the argument that I think you just did, that he's not being a good person now. He's being selfish. He's choosing his love over humanity, and whether or not one thinks that's a worthy thing to do is kind of up to you.
Yeah. And I've seen people online too, like older people who have like children, and they're
Mhm,
saying, "I would absolutely not do that to my child," this and
mhm,
that. And I get that. I don't have a kid. I
mhm,
I don't know. I don't understand that emotional bond you have between your child.
mhm,
But at the same time, I don't want to sound like pretentious or anything, but
mhm.
I know how to critically think, and I know how to properly assess the situation. So, I'm not gonna let my emotions cloud my judgment.
Mhm. You know what? You very much are that type of person, though.
Mhm. And I even told my girlfriend that too when we were having that conversation. I was like, even going back to that 1%, I said something along those lines. I was like, just do it because if the world's better off, boom, I just saved the world. And if it's not,
Mhm,
then there's one less mouth you have to feed,
mhm.
and that's the truth of it. But
And I think that's interesting. Is that all we have to say about Joel?
I think so. But the last thing I kind of want to say is about the ending.
Mhm.
So in the game, they do a really good job at just like Ellie knowing right off the bat that
Something's wrong.
Joel is full of shit.
Mhm,
Because when I played the game, that's how I interpreted. I was like, oh, she knows he's lying, but
Mm-hmm.
she's not gonna push it. A- And in the show, they do a great fucking job at like delivering that message too. Where I'm like, she
Mm-hmm.
knows, she 100% knows he is withholding some critical information from her, and I appreciated that. But yeah, that's I think that's it. That's like everything I wanted to talk about right
Mm-hmm.
there.
And I think it's interesting because in this scenario, we're talking about one life to save the world. And in the Attack on Titans, it's sort of the opposite in the sense that you're taking many lives to save a small percentage of people. So let's
hmm
kind of switch into that
hmm
sort of idea of the rumbling. Is it justified?
did you watch the 1 hour special?
No, I read a recap. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Well,
To let everyone know, I promised Lewis I was like, I'm gonna watch this recap, but I did not. I read recaps though.
okay, so you know what happens.
And you know what? I've read the manga, so I'm hoping that'll be enough. I'm one of those pretentious. You know what? I was gonna say Lewis lies, but he's right. I do read manga. I do read manga. But since I know Attack on Titan is a bit closer to your heart than mine, do you maybe want to go into what you think?
Yeah, so Aaron,
Mhm.
the protagonist, his name's Aaron Yeager. He,
Eren Yeager.
you
I
know,
didn't do it. Sorry.
it's funny because I'm usually, just to kind of derail the conversation a little bit.
Mhm.
I usually watch my animes in dub,
Mhm.
and I watch sub too. But this is one of them where I'm like, the sub is just like, oh, I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that guy,
Mhm.
but I'm like, the sub just hits completely different.
Mhm.
I love the sub in Attack on Titan. But okay, going to the show. The way I look at it is that I always mix up which ones they are, the Marlians or the Eldians. I forget which one's Aaron is. Um,
They're Eldons, I think.
the Eldians? Can you look that up for me?
Pretty sure. Yeah, I'll look that up right now.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit more context, the people who can turn into giants, the mainlanders call those group of humans a name, and they call them, and then the
They
mainlanders.
they are Eldons. The people on the island are Eldons,
Okay, yeah,
and those that are on the main continent who are kind of working with the government are Marlians.
Marlins. Yeah, so the mainlanders call Aaron's people Eldians, and they call themselves Marlians. That's how they separate the species, the two species of humans. So the way I look at it is that Aaron, that is Aaron's world, you know? The island is his world. That's all he knew. Growing up, he was under the assumption that this was all that was left of humanity, was this tiny island of people. And it one thing I keep going back to is in the show, he manages to smuggle himself onto the Marlins island,
Mhm.
and there's this guy giving a speech, and I fucking love this scene so much
Mhm.
because Aaron is talking to Reiner, which is he was like a double agent who was sent to the island, and he's essentially Aaron's nemesis. That's the best way to put it.
Mhm.
And he's having this conversation with Reiner, and Reiner's like, "Holy shit, Aaron, what are you doing here?" Because Reiner is terrified of this guy, but he will throw hands with him if need be. And he's having this conversation with him, and he's telling Reiner, I'm gonna finish what you started essentially, but instead of you attacking me, I'm attacking you guys now. I'm taking a fight to you." And he was like, "Oh, but you can't. We got to stop this and that." And meanwhile, just right above him, there's this politician giving a speech saying, "We have airplanes, we have tanks, we have guns. These guys on the island barely have any of that. We are like our technology is so much more advanced than theirs, but they are catching up. We need to end them now. We need to stop delaying the inevitable, and we need to get to them before they get to us." And
Mhm.
he's like, and then he says, he's like, "I am officially announcing the war on Paradise Island," because that's what it's called in the anime and the manga where they
But it's
live.
spelled funny.
Yeah. And
Paradise.
he says, I'm announcing the war on Paradise Island," and everyone's like, "Yeah," like, "Yeah, let's get rid of them." And as soon as he says that, the second he says, "I'm announcing war on them," fucking Aaron
Mhm.
turns into a Titan, and just starts beating the fuck out of, like, he turns into Godzilla essentially.
He
It's
was like,
just
"Oh, really? You think you're doing that, huh?" And then he just starts fucking trouncing them.
yeah, and so that's one thing I keep coming back to because they were just about to do that to you guys. Aaron just beat
Mhm.
him to the punchline, and it's like, fuck, like, the whole world was literally against you. No one was on your side. So what else would you have done, you know? Like peace was never, I hate to, like, say this cliche line, but peace was never an option for them. What do you think?
I think, I have sort of, I feel like peaceful negotiations is something that exists, and I think I understand that because they just declared war. You're fighting war. You're doing a battle. You're doing all this. But I would like to point out that the rumbling itself, which why don't we go a bit into the rumbling itself? It's a thing that's meant to just attack the entire world.
Yeah, it's a prophecy that everyone knew
Mhm,
about, and that's a big reason why they were so scared of the
mhm.
Aldeans, because they're like, the rumbling's gonna happen eventually. We just don't know when it's gonna happen.
It's a genocidal march that's meant to kill everyone outside the island. And I want to bring up a scene that happens a bit earlier with a character that people really do dislike. Hold on, I have my notes right here. Gabby.
Yeah.
Gabby is a character that is indoctrinated into, even though she's one of the people that she supposedly hates, people on the mainland believe that they need to kill and fight to sort of make up for sins of the past. Very Catholic, very original sin. It's very much we were off in the past and now we have to make up for it. This is a huge thing in their culture. And she kind of meets this orphan girl named Kaya whose family was killed. And there's a scene in both the manga and anime where Kaya takes I think Gabby and somebody else. He takes them
Flock.
to this farmhouse where where her mother was eaten before she was saved by Sasha. And Kaya talks to Gabby like, "Why did my mother deserve to die?" And Gabby is sticks to her belief. She's like, "Because we're dirty, we're fucking dirty Eldons. We deserve this. We need to make up." And then the little girl Kaya is like, "Well, what did my mom do? What did she do to deserve this? That was thousands of years ago. What did my why did my mom deserve to die like this?" And, Gabby keeps, like, sticking to her guns at first, but then, little Kaya's just like, We've done nothing. We never even talked to you. I don't even know what's going on. We were here on our island just living, and you deserve to kill us and punish us for things that we don't have any connection to at all." And I think that's an interesting question. And Gabby starts, the less Gabby can answer as she goes on her little rant, because Gabby is sort of turning into a wake up call. Whether or not she's redeemed or something, I don't know will happen. But I think it's interesting because you can pose that similar question to maybe not the people of Marley, but the people on the rest of the planet.
Mhm.
Do the women and children like Gabby, who maybe be fucked up but just be indoctrinated, deserve to be genocidally wiped out?
Yeah, that makes that poses a good question.
And I understand I think we can all see kinda Aaron's plan, like, he'll be the evil big bad, and then everyone will like, "Oh, he's the bad guy," and then everyone works together to take him out, and then I think everyone can see, like, where the plan is going.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh, then they'll defeat him, and then you guys will be heroes, and I'm the bad guy. I'll take the fall." Like, I think I made a DM NPC in one of our D&D games, and you were just like, "Is this just Aaron?" And I was like, "Maybe." Like, I forget which one that
It
was,
was
but
the Kelly point.
It yeah, it was a Cali point. I made a DMPC that's like, "I'll be the bad guy if that makes everyone else the hero," and you were like, "This is just Aaron." So, I think it's interesting when you look at that. Do the women and children and men who are innocent, who are indoctrinated in Marley and the rest of the world, do they deserve to be genocidally wiped out? I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, see, that's where the morality comes into it, because
Mhm,
it's asking, it's like, what did these guys do to get, like, the common Joe and Jane working a 9 to 5 who don't give a fuck about any of that but putting food on their
mhm,
kid's table. I get that, but
mhm.
I at the same
But also
time.
look at how Aaron has been raised.
Mhm.
And you understand like the how he's dealt with the Ymir, the original Titan, and that legacy. and how he was raised. He's been a sociopath since like a fucking toddler. He's been stabbing kids since before he was 10.
Yeah,
He's gone through so much tragic shit.
that
So
that
I don't think he's right, but again, this is the sort of thing where you have to say, hey, he's not supposed to, like similar to Joel, he's not supposed to be right.
mhm.
It's like whether or not you feel like you could condemn their actions.
Yeah. He's clearly in the
Mhm,
wrong, but going back to what you said too, he grew up very traumatic,
mhm.
and he has gone through a series of traumatic shit. And it's just the only thing too is I feel like my big thing is these talks of peace would have never happened if they didn't clap back, you know?
Yeah.
If the Aldeans were like, "Oh, you guys have tanks? Yeah, we have fucking giants. Yeah, okay, let's go." These conversations would have never happened in a
You
million
know,
years if
mhm.
Aaron
Oh,
would
yeah.
have started doing this.
I'm not saying don't show your strength, but maybe just don't genocide. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Because there
Like
there's a
mhm,
there's a line at the end towards the end of the 1 hour special where the whole thing is they're saying the main group of characters are like, we have to stop Aaron before he gets to the airports. Because if he gets to
mhm,
the airports, there's not we can't do anything at that point. He won. He won the war. They're saying that he already got the Navy. Now he's going right out to the Air Force.
mhm,
After that, all he has to worry about is ground troops, and that's not going to be a problem for him. So,
mhm,
um, the whole episode is like a race against the clock before he gets to the airport. And at towards the end of the episode, he is like he was right there. He was right in front of the airport. And the people are saying they're like, "Okay, guys, we have this one final attack on Aaron. We have to. This is where this is legit humanity's last stand," which is funny because it kind of mirrors what an older character. His name's Commander Irwin. He
mhm,
had said something along the lines similar to his troops when they were fighting the Titans attacking their people
mhm.
back on the island, where he was like, "This is humanity's last stand," which I found really interesting.
R.I.P. the homie.
Yeah, and there's there's that question too. Oh, fuck, I forgot where I was going with this. Um, okay, yeah, airports. So where they're going to the airports, and he's right about to stop them. Yeah, I genuinely forgot where I was going with this. Holy shit! As soon as you said "R.I.P. the homie," I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. You're talking about how interesting the parallels between like the Last Stand for Humanity is.
Oh yeah. Um, So yeah, there it is right there, and
Mhm,
you find out too that Aaron didn't want to do this. There's
mhm,
a whole scene where he he somehow manages to get onto the mainland again, and there's like flashbacks, and he doesn't want to do this. He even because there's a kid that they specifically show get crushed and like get just eviscerated, and it cuts to Aaron talking to that kid, and he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry, like, for what's about to happen. I don't want to do this." And
mhm,
and I thought that was something that was, like, super interesting because in the show, you've never saw that side of him. You never saw that the humanity in Aaron. You just see kind of like this, I don't wanna say like this Chad, but like this, like, cold-hearted person where he's like, "Alright, yeah, I gotta do what I gotta do. Whatever." And I thought that was super interesting that you just see Aaron break down and cry because that's the last time you really kind of see the
mhm.
older Aaron.
And then from then on, he's just like, "Kill humanity.
Kill John Lennon.
Yeah, kill John Lennon." But, yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I'm anti-genocide,
Mhm.
but, I understand
Oh, now I remember where I
why
was going with that
he's saying
conversation.
okay, I understand why he's doing what he's doing,
So,
but,
okay.
go ahead, go
So,
back,
I'm sorry,
continue.
I derailed. So, as Aaron's approaching the airport, they launch a counterattack, and of course Aaron just fucking shits all over their plan, and they're like, "Oh shit."
Of course.
They're like, "Humanity's done. We've lost." And the announcer is saying on the speaker, and this is a line I appreciate it. but at the same time, I thought was funny for a couple of reasons. Um, they're talking on the line. He's talking on the intercom to like these group of survivors that are watching this fucking giant monster coming right at them, and there's nothing they can do. And
Hmm.
he's talking and he's saying, "This is our fault. This is 110% our fault. This would have never
Hmm.
happened if we would have left these people alone on the island. Just let them live. Now they've come back, and the rumbling has happened because we started this."
Yeah.
And the announcer makes another announcement. He's like, if there is some kind of god out there, there is some kind of a higher power or whatever, I promise that we will treat these people with respect if he decides to turn around right now, or if he spares us, we can work something out. We can talk to them. We've learned from our mistakes. If we ever get that opportunity to atone for our sins, we will work on it. And I'm thinking to myself too, because there was a scene like during the part two of the
Hmm.
season where they're all like the main characters are sitting down and eating food, and they were all once enemies. And Hanji, which is one of the main characters, she's like, "Man, who would have thought all of us would be sitting down and having dinner with each other?" This goes to show that we can work things out if we just talk it out. And
Hmm.
that kind of goes back to my question too. I'm like, you're saying that now because you're right about to die.
Because your face is right in the front of a gun, like you're about to get
Yeah,
shot.
I'm like
Mhm.
you're only saying, "Hey, we can work this out. We can be homies." Once you see this fucking
Mhm.
giant monster coming your way. But if I would have asked you that maybe like a week ago, your attitude would have been completely different on you. You would have been like, "Oh, fuck these guys, this and that, blah blah blah." So that's what I found super funny was that like they're like, "Oh yeah, peace is an option now, guys. We can talk." After you were just about to commit these same acts of crimes to them.
Mhm. And, it's just they fucking suck. They're right. They're right. You shouldn't have fucked with this, and they kinda created their own enemy, and I think there's lots of things we could get into about this manga and this anime that I don't really care for, but that's outside of the scope of this conversation.
Mhm.
But I think at the end of the day, it's fun to talk about. Like, is this the right thing to do? Because I could see someone arguing like, yeah, because then all the bad guys will die and then it'll only be us. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I could see that argument being.
And there's even a scene too where cuz Aaron he effectively it also too there's a big thing we left out. The people on Aaron's island, they don't support what he's doing.
Yeah,
They
they do
they
not. He
they
take over.
Yeah, he they even bring it they even like arrest him and everything, but he straight up
Mhm.
starts a whole fucking coup and takes over the island because
What are
he
they
has
called? The Jaegerists,
the
right?
Jaegerists, yeah. And they called themselves the Jaegerists, which is kind of a cool name, I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
Um
Oh
and
my god.
they take over the island, and there's this whole coup that happens because enough people support his plan because they're all
Mhm.
aware that like they were gonna do this to us, let's just do it to them. And there's this character in the show, his name is Flock.
Mhm.
He is it Flock? I forget his name. Um, he is Aaron's right hand man. He knows all of Aaron's plans, this and that, but he ain't no snitch. So what happens
Mhm.
is that at the end, in the 1 hour special, they end up killing him. But as he's dying, his last words are like, "Don't stop Aaron. Let him do his plan.
Mhm.
Because if you stop him, they're gonna come after us. Like we're at the point of no return. They're gonna get mad and just kind of like return the favor," which got me thinking too with like a more like bigger question at hand. And this is kind of spoilery, but I'm gonna dance around it. That's what the theme of The Last of Us Part Two is. It's
Mhm.
violent. The cycle of violence never ends. And that's
Mhm.
that's that's a valid question too, because yes, in Attack on Titan, you have these people finally admitting that like, oh, we fucked up. But what we're not seeing is there's probably a whole another group of people be like, yeah, we were right. Look at these people. This is exactly what happened. We should have done this a lot sooner. Why did we wait so long? This is our fault because we waited. So who's not to say, another cycle of violence is going to begin because they're like they already did. This is the second time they've done this, and it's that perpetual cycle. It's just always going to keep going and going to keep going, going to keep going. And that's something I think is super interesting because that's a theme in the Last of Us Part 2, where it's
Hmm.
the cycle of violence isn't gonna end until one person decides to like make a left and fucking hop off the exit. What do you think about that?
I think I think it's a really tough conversation to have, but I think you have the right thing going.
Hmm.
And you know what? You know how you said you forgot what you were gonna say? I also forgot what I was gonna
I'm
say.
sorry.
That's okay. I just got absorbed into what you're saying. I was like, oh.
I will say this.
Hmm.
My girlfriend on TikTok, she reposted something and it had me fucking laughing because this is her thing. She was like I
Hmm.
grew up with Aaron Yeager. I didn't watch him from high school up until like I'm about to graduate college to watch him bitch out of his plans now. Like she was like he's my boy through and through. I don't care. And she's laughing as she says it. She gets it. And I
Hmm.
saw her repost this thing on TikTok, and it made me fucking laugh my ass off. So there's this scene in Coco. I don't
Hmm.
I think it's Coco. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Coco. Where he has this ripped picture and he's putting it together, and then he
Hmm.
realizes I forget. It's been a while since I've seen Coco, but
No, I'm pretty sure that's Coco. He realizes who his grandpa is.
yeah, and he realized who his grandpa is. But on TikTok, that's a template you can use.
Oh
And
yeah.
so instead of like the picture being what it's intended to be, you can put something in the picture. So what the caption was, it was like me looking at a beautiful baby boy who's never done anything wrong in his life, and it's a picture of Aaron, and I just started fucking laughing my ass off, and I was looking at the comments, and everyone was like, they're like, yeah, can we all just kind of like forget the rumbling ever happened? They're like, Aaron was just angry, you get it.
He just needed a good nap,
Yeah, he's like,
honestly.
he just needed to blow off some steam. He did nothing wrong, and I find it funny too that like everyone who watches Attack on Titan, they can all agree that it is wrong.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Yeah, it's wrong," but, like, Aaron was just grumpy. He was just feeling
Yeah,
quirky that
and
day.
I love seeing people come up, and it's on purpose. They're coming up with these half-assed excuses. It just
Mhm.
makes it so much fucking funnier.
He's just a quirked up white boy goated on the sauce. That's all
Wait,
Aaron is.
wait, what do you? Okay, hold on. Now here's the question. Okay,
Okay.
now most people in anime and in mangas are Japanese because
Mhm.
that's the most like 90% of them come out in Japan before they
Mhm.
reach other places of the world. Would you say Aaron's German?
Yeah.
You think he's okay?
I mean, Jaeger, like, I feel like that's intentional, and they make a specific thing where they go like, "Hey, Mikasa, you're Japanese. Isn't that crazy?" Like,
Okay, okay. I
I
was I
think
was
it's
just
it's
curious.
explicit, and there's a black character, I forget his name, but they're like, "Hey, you're black. That's crazy." Like, they make a note of race. Like, they clearly identify that they're, like, German sounding names.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're 100% right. Because Mikasa
Yeah,
is fully, yeah, because she has like a Japanese name. Okay,
like, I mean, just to go to, like, the beginning of the series, there's this moment where, like, they're trying to traffic Mikasa, and the guys are like, "Oh, yeah, like, there's not a lot of these people, like, she'll do well on the market because 'cause they're talking about selling a Japanese girl, which is
that's
really fucked up.
see
But, like, of course, they're, like, bad guys, so of course it's fucked up, but, like, it's made intentionally clear, uh,
that he's
that it is sort of like a German European name, and, I could talk more about that, but I feel like that's out of sight. And once again, I don't wanna get into it, so
yeah. You can enjoy Attack on Titan. Just don't look into the creator. He has some he's kind of questionable stuff.
and I would say the story itself is questionable, but,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, like, once they get to, like, part 4, I remember I've talked about this on the podcast too, I'm pretty sure you can
Mhm,
find it in, earlier episodes. I felt uncomfortable watching, like, the first half of this latest season because I was just like,
mhm,
"Ew, god, this is, like, too close to reality."
mhm,
But, that's neither here and that's neither there. But,
and that's a conversation for a different
yeah.
podcast episode.
We want to thank the Kevins for listening as
Mhm.
always, and our
Our
haters.
fans, the
Yeah, and
Kevins.
and our haters, also known as the Rudies.
Mhm.
We don't fuck with you guys, but the
Yeah.
Kevins, you guys are all right.
Mwah.
And we
I
want to
miss all of you.
And I want to personally thank each and every one of you. I know Noah doesn't, but I want to thank each and every
Yeah,
one
I
of you.
hate our listeners.
They're all Rudies in his eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to thank all of you guys for listening. And if you've made it this far into the podcast, please be sure to give us a good review. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a nice little comment or even a hate comment. I don't care. A comment's a comment. We'll take it. And tell us what you thought of this episode. But Noah, what is their homework for the week?
Your homework for the week is to. I was about to say something, but I know you get mad.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
I was gonna plug Titans. I will say your homework for the week is to watch the young LGBTQIA romance series Heartstopper on Netflix.
What's that about? Give me a quick elevator pitch.
Okay, it's about it's a coming of age love romance story between an openly out gay kid and another kid who learns he's bisexual. They fall in love in high school. It's very cute.
It sounds like that was Love, Simon. I think that was the movie that came out.
Yeah, but it's better. Just kidding. I haven't seen Love.
Love, Simon had Kid Flash in it.
Yeah, I enjoy that actor.
I found it funny because I'm like, oh, he left Central. What is it? Central City?
Yeah, he left Central City.
He left Central City to go find himself. That's how I viewed the movie a little bit, and it was a lot more enjoyable.
He shows up in the second movie of Love, Simon, and he's just Kid Flash.
Yeah,
they never talk about it. He's just like running around. They never even talk about it. He's just like, oh yeah, they just talk about DC heroes.
But for my homework for the week is to go listen to a new band that's like out of your music genre taste. Yeah, go listen to some new music. If you listen to rap, go listen to like some rock. And if you listen to rock, go listen to a rap album. And if you don't listen to any of those, go listen to like jazz or something, okay? Go broaden your musical horizon a little bit. Because it's easy to get stuck in our music taste. You're like, there's never no good music. I'm like, no, motherfucker, you just don't listen to new songs. But yeah, that's my homework for the week. I also do have some news to share. I didn't really get into it too much this week, but I have joined the IGN news team, which is it's a little dream come true of mine. So I'm one step closer to getting a full-time job in this industry.
Yeah.
But Noah, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok as Noah is Garcia. You can find my photography Instagram at Noah Garcia _photography, and you can read my comics works writings at panelsandpages.wordpress.com. And where can people find you, Lewis?
People can find me covering news and guides both over at IGN and GameSpot. If you just Google my full name, Luis Joshua Gutierrez. And I am also. You good? Did you drop something?
No, it's just I put my hand because I talk. Okay, people don't know this, but I kind of move when I talk. So I put my hand down, but I hit my laptop, so I just shook everything. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And people can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Luis Gutierrez. But yeah, that's all. And I hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you again when we see you again, which will probably be the same time around next week when this episode drops.
Yeah.
All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.